We fought for 5 days over a hill that didn't matter. Hundreds of men died for a piece of ground we abandoned 2 months later when the armistice was signed. That's Korea for you. That's the whole goddamn war. I was infantry, 7th Infantry Division, Easy Company. Arrived in Korea in January of 1953. The war had been going on for almost 3 years by then. The front lines had barely moved in 2 years. Just sitting there, staring at the Chinese across no man's land, trading artillery fire, sending out patrols, dying for hills that had numbers instead of names because nobody cared enough to name them properly. Except Pork Chop Hill. That one had a name. Some officer thought the ridge line looked like a pork chop on the map, so that's what we called it. Pork Chop Hill, like it was something from a goddamn cartoon instead of a place where men were about to die. My name is Joseph Chen, San Francisco. My parents came from China, ran a restaurant in Chinatown. I grew up American, spoke English, went to American schools, pledged allegiance to the American flag. When the Korean War started and they needed soldiers, I enlisted, wanted to prove I belonged, that I was American, that I'd fight for my country. The irony wasn't lost on me. American-born Chinese kid fighting Chinese communists in a war nobody back home gave a damn about. Korea wasn't World War II, wasn't the good war. It was just there, happening, men dying, and nobody cared except the men doing the dying. By April of 1953, everyone knew the war was ending. Peace talks had been going on for 2 years. An armistice was coming. Maybe weeks away, maybe months. But it was coming. Everyone knew it, which made every death feel even more pointless. Dying in 1950 when the war was new, that was one thing. Dying in 1953 when peace was being negotiated, when the lines weren't going to move, when nothing you did mattered because in a few months it would all be over anyway. That was something else entirely. Pork Chop Hill sat in front of our main line, outpost position, not strategically important, not worth holding, really. But the Chinese wanted it, kept attacking it, and we kept defending it, not because it mattered, but because giving it up would look like weakness at the negotiating table. So men died, lots of men, American and Chinese both, fighting over a worthless hill because diplomats in Panmunjom were playing chess with our lives. April 16th, 1953. That's when the Chinese hit us, 2 battalions, maybe more. Artillery bombardment like nothing I'd seen before. Then waves of infantry, thousands of them, coming at Pork Chop Hill in human wave attacks. My company was in reserve. We got the call around 2200 hours. Easy Company, saddle up, you're going to Pork Chop. We knew what that meant. The hill was being overrun. We were the reinforcements. We were going into hell. And for what? For a hill we'd probably abandon in 2 months anyway. But orders were orders, so we went. The approach to Pork Chop was through a trench line. Communication trench leading from our main position up to the hill. Narrow, muddy, bodies already coming back the other way. Wounded, dead. Guys from King Company who'd been holding the hill, what was left of them. They're all over it, one wounded soldier said as we passed. Thousands of them. You're walking into a meat grinder. He was right. We could hear the battle before we saw it. Artillery, mortars, small arms fire, continuous, like thunder that never stopped. The sky was lit up, flares, explosions, tracers. It looked like the world was on fire. We reached the base of the hill around 2300 hours. The Chinese had the crest. We had positions on the lower slopes. The order was to counterattack. Take back the hilltop. Hold it. Lieutenant Morrison, he was our platoon leader, good officer, farm kid from Iowa. He gathered us together. Listen up. We're going up that hill. Stay together. Keep your heads down. Watch for grenades. The Chinese like to throw grenades. Lots of grenades. Someone asked what the objective was. what we were supposed to accomplish. Morrison just looked at him. Take the hill. That's the objective. And then what? Then we hold it. For how long? Morrison didn't answer. Didn't have an answer. We'd hold it until we couldn't, until we were dead or relieved or the Chinese pushed us off. That was it. That was the plan. We started up the hill. The Chinese had the high ground. They could see us coming. Mortars started landing. Machine gun fire raking the slope. Men started dropping. I saw Tommy Rodriguez, kid from Texas, always joking, always smiling, take a burst to the chest. He fell backward, rolled down the hill, gone. We kept climbing, over bodies, American and Chinese both. The hill was covered with them, hundreds, maybe thousands, hard to tell in the dark. You'd step on something soft and realize it was a person. Was a person, not anymore. The Chinese were in the bunkers, the trenches, everywhere. We hit them with everything we had, rifles, grenades, bayonets. It turned into close combat, hand to hand, brutal, personal. You'd see their faces, see them die, see yourself in their eyes. I killed a Chinese soldier in a trench, bayoneted him. He was maybe my age, maybe younger. He looked at me, not with hate, not with anger, just surprise, like he couldn't believe this was happening, like he'd expected to survive. Then he died, and I moved on to the next one, because that's what you do. You kill and you move and you keep fighting because stopping means dying. We took the crest, pushed the Chinese off, set up defensive positions, got ready for them to come back, because they would come back. They always did. That was just the first hour. We'd be on that hill for 5 more days. 5 days of hell for a hill that meant nothing. The Chinese counterattacked at dawn, came at us in waves, hundreds of them, blowing bugles, shouting, running straight at our positions. We cut them down, machine guns, rifles, artillery called in danger close. So close the shrapnel was hitting our own positions. But they kept coming, wave after wave, stepping over their own dead, using the bodies as cover. The fighting was constant, no breaks, no rest, just continuous combat. They'd attack. We'd fight them off. They'd regroup, attack again, over and over, hour after hour. The bunkers were the worst. Underground positions the Chinese had built, reinforced, sandbags and logs and dirt. You had to go in after them, clear them out room by room, tunnel by tunnel, dark, cramped. You couldn't see, could barely move. Just feel your way forward and hope you saw the enemy before they saw you. I was clearing a bunker on the second day, me and 3 other guys. We had flashlights, grenades, went in slow, careful, could hear Chinese voices ahead, whispering, waiting. We threw grenades. The explosions were deafening in the confined space. Couldn't hear anything after, just ringing. We moved forward, found bodies, Chinese soldiers, young, so young. Kids, really. One wasn't dead, wounded, lying there, looking at us. He said something, in Chinese. I understood it. My parents' language. I'd grown up hearing it. He was asking for his mother. I shot him. What else could I do? Leave him to suffer? Take him prisoner? We didn't have time, didn't have resources. So I shot him and moved on and tried not to think about it. Tried not to think about how he looked like me. How we could have been cousins, brothers. How if things had been different, if my parents hadn't left China, I might have been wearing his uniform instead of mine. The artillery never stopped. Chinese guns pounding us from across the valley. Our guns pounding them back. The hill became a moonscape, craters on top of craters, trees stripped bare. Everything destroyed. Nothing green, nothing living. Just mud and blood and bodies. We ran out of water on day 3, ran low on ammunition on day 4. Resupply came up at night, through the trenches, under fire. They'd dump ammo and water and rations and pull out the wounded and the dead, then disappear before dawn, leave us to hold until the next night. The smell was unbearable. Hundreds of bodies, ours and theirs, rotting in the Korean sun. We couldn't bury them, couldn't move them, just had to live with them, sleep next to them, fight around them, pretend they weren't there. Men started breaking. Combat fatigue, shell shock, whatever you want to call it. They'd just stop fighting, stop responding, just sit there, staring. We'd have to shake them, slap them. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Lieutenant Morrison got hit on day 4. Mortar fragment, took half his face off. He was still conscious, still trying to give orders. Couldn't talk, just made sounds, gestures, blood everywhere. The medic said he wouldn't make it. Too much damage, nothing they could do. Morrison died an hour later, still trying to lead, still trying to fight, for a hill that didn't matter in a war that was already over. By day 5, Easy Company was combat ineffective. We'd started with 135 men. We were down to maybe 40. The rest were dead or wounded or broken, evacuated or buried or just gone. They brought up another company, King Company. What was left of them? Combined us into one unit. New lieutenant, kid who looked like he was 19, fresh from the States, scared out of his mind. "We hold this position," he said. "Those are our orders." Nobody responded. What was there to say? We'd been hearing those orders for 5 days. Men kept dying and we kept holding and nothing changed. The Chinese would attack. We'd fight them off. They'd attack again. We'd fight them off again. Endless, pointless, meaningless. I was down to my last magazine, 20 rounds. After that, I'd be using a bayonet or rocks or my bare hands. Didn't matter. We'd fight with whatever we had until we couldn't fight anymore. The Chinese hit us again around 1400 hours. Biggest attack yet. They wanted that hill, wanted it bad. Threw everything at us. Artillery, mortars, infantry, tanks, or what passed for tanks. Old Soviet T-34s. We called in air support, F-86 Sabres. They came in low, dropped napalm on the Chinese positions. I watched men burn, watched them run, on fire, screaming, watched them die. I felt nothing, no pity, no horror, no guilt, just nothing. Empty, used up. All the humanity burned out of me over 5 days on a worthless hill. We held, somehow. Don't know how, don't know why. Just luck, maybe. Or the Chinese running out of men before we did. But we held. Night fell on day 5. The attacks stopped. The artillery slowed, then stopped. Silence, actual silence. For the first time in 5 days, it was worse than the noise. In the silence, you could hear the wounded, Chinese and American both, crying out, begging for help, for water, for morphine, for death. We couldn't help them, couldn't help our own, let alone theirs. Just had to listen, all night. The sounds of men dying slow, alone, in the dark. I sat in a bunker with 2 other guys, Johnson from Alabama, Martinez from California. We didn't talk, just sat there, staring at nothing, listening to the dying. "What are we doing here?" Johnson asked. Not really asking us, just asking the universe. What the fuck are we doing here? Nobody answered. We didn't know. Didn't think anyone knew. We were just infantry, just men with rifles, following orders, fighting for hills, dying for reasons we didn't understand. The Chinese didn't attack on day 6 or day 7. By day 8, orders came down. Abandon Pork Chop Hill. Pull back to the main line. The position wasn't worth holding anymore. We'd fought for 5 days, lost hundreds of men, killed thousands of Chinese, all for a hill we were now giving up. All for nothing. My breaking point came 2 weeks later, after pork chop, after we'd pulled back to the main line, after I'd had time to process what had happened. They gave us a week of rest, hot food, clean uniforms, a chance to shower, to sleep, to pretend we were human again. But I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back on that hill, back in the bunkers, back killing Chinese soldiers who looked like me, who spoke my parents' language, who called for their mothers while dying. One night, I just started screaming. Couldn't stop. Didn't even know I was doing it. Just came out. All the rage and horror and grief and futility of it all. Just poured out in one long scream. My squad mates held me down. Thought I was having a nightmare. Tried to wake me up. But I was already awake. This was worse than any nightmare. The company medic gave me something. Put me out. When I woke up, I was in a field hospital, rear area, away from the front. A doctor came by, army psychiatrist, asked me questions about pork chop, about what I'd seen, what I'd done, how I felt, how did I feel. I felt nothing. That was the problem. I should have felt something. Guilt, horror, grief, something. But there was nothing, just emptiness. A void where my humanity used to be. You're experiencing combat fatigue, the doctor said. It's normal, common. You just need rest. Rest. Like rest would fix it. Like sleep and hot meals and time away from the fighting would somehow make me forget. Make me whole again. He didn't understand. Nobody understood. You can't unsee what I'd seen. Can't undo what I'd done. Can't unkill the men I'd killed. Can't undie the friends I'd watched die. They sent me back to my unit after 2 weeks. Said I was fit for duty, ready to fight. I went back. What choice did I have? Desert? Go AWOL? Where would I go? So I went back to Easy Company. Back to the bunkers and the trenches and the waiting for the next pork chop, the next worthless hill, the next pointless battle. The armistice came in July 27th, 1953. The fighting stopped. The war was over. Not won, not lost. Just over. Ended where it had started. The lines barely moved. Nothing gained. Nothing accomplished. 50,000 Americans dead. For nothing. For a stalemate. For a frozen conflict that still hasn't ended. I came home in September. People asked about the war. I told them it was fine. I did my duty. Served my country. The usual answers. Nobody asked about Pork Chop Hill. Nobody knew what it was. Why should they? It didn't matter. Never mattered. Just another hill in a forgotten war. But I remember. I'll always remember. The faces, the screaming, the dying, the pointlessness of it all. I remember. It's been 27 years since Pork Chop Hill. 27 years since Korea. Since the war that America forgot. I'm 50 years old now. Married, 3 kids. Run the family restaurant in San Francisco. My parents retired. Handed it down to me. Full circle. Chinese-American kid who fought Chinese communists now serves Chinese food to American customers. The irony still isn't lost on me. I don't talk about Korea. Don't talk about the war. My wife knows I was there. Knows I saw combat. That's all she knows. That's all anyone knows. When Vietnam started, people asked if I'd served. I said yes. They'd nod. Assume I understood. Assume we were brothers in arms. We weren't. Vietnam vets came home to protests, to anger, to a country that turned against them. We came home to nothing. No protests, no parades, no anger. Just nothing. Indifference. Korea was the forgotten war. We were the forgotten veterans. Maybe that's worse. Being forgotten, being invisible. At least the Vietnam vets got recognition. Even if it was negative, at least people knew they existed. Nobody knows about Korea. Nobody remembers. When I tell people I'm a Korean War veteran, they look confused. Oh, I didn't know you were in World War II. Wrong war, wrong generation, wrong everything. I can't watch war movies, can't read war books. Everyone wants to write about World War II, about Vietnam, about the important wars, the meaningful conflicts. Nobody writes about Korea, nobody cares. Good. I don't want them to care. Don't want them to know. Don't want them to understand what it was like to fight for hills that didn't matter. To die for diplomatic negotiations. To kill men who looked like family for reasons nobody could explain. My son asked me once why I enlisted, what made me join. I told him I wanted to serve my country, wanted to prove I belonged, that I was American. Did it work? He asked. Did you prove it? I didn't know how to answer. Did I prove it? By killing Chinese soldiers? By fighting in a war America forgot? By coming home to a country that never cared? I don't know. I still don't know. My parents never asked about the war. They were from China, knew what war was, what it did to people. They saw it in my eyes, the emptiness, the distance. They knew. So they didn't ask. Just welcomed me home, put me to work in the restaurant, gave me purpose, structure. Something to do besides remember. I'm grateful for that, for the silence, for the work, for the routine. It's kept me sane, kept me functional, kept me from falling apart completely. But I still hear them sometimes, in the quiet moments, in the early morning before the restaurant opens, in the late night after everyone's gone home. I hear them. The Chinese soldiers, calling for their mothers, dying in the bunkers, dying on Pork Chop Hill, dying for nothing. And I hear my friends, Tommy Rodriguez, Lieutenant Morrison, Johnson, Martinez, all of them, dead, gone, forgotten, like the war that killed them. I survived Pork Chop Hill, survived Korea, came home, built a life, but I never came home. None of us did.